Some big developments in Manchester United's pursuit of Ollie Watkins, as Villa are now looking at strikers on the market. They're looking at a player and they need to sell Watkins to make that move. With Watkins very open to a Man United move and willing to say yes to Manchester United with a price tag of 45 to 50 million believed to convince Villa to sell. Could this be the start of Watkins to Manchester United? We haven't decided yet between Watkins and Cesco, but Newcastle are really pushing for Cesco. There's suggestions that United prefer Watkins. Could we get developments there? What is the latest on Watkins and Cesco? I'm going to try and round that up quickly. But big news story coming in today. Hayden Hackney. £15 million bid been accepted for Hayden Hackney. What an absolute bargain. Now, I'm not saying that Hayden Hackney is the best midfield option for Manchester United. I could probably name 10 better midfielders out there in world football. But those 10 midfielders I could name, I don't think we'd be able to afford them on top of a striker signing and top of a goalkeeper signing. So when Hayden Hackney is the perfect profile we need, when he's £15 million, United have to hijack that, surely. People are saying, but if no Prem club's interested in Hayden Hackney, he can't be that good. Well, no Prem club wanted Gyökeres 2 summers ago, and now he's gone to Arsenal. Okay? I think Hayden Hackney, profile-wise, £15 million. Middlesbrough accepted a £15 million bid from Ipswich. Will United make their move? Because I'd love Baleba. I'd love a lot of players. You know, Hayden Hackney is probably the 10th best option for United, but he's the right profile. And we signed Dan James for 15 million, wasn't good enough, but we sold him for 25. Dan James is the only real player we've made a proper profit on top of Daley Blind, since Sir Alex Ferguson left. We'll talk about that. Sen Lmens, what's the latest on that? Because there seems to be some advancements there on the goalkeeper situation, not in for Emi Martinez. And what is the latest on Xerxes' injury? So, hello. Welcome back to Alice Talks Football and welcome back to your 10-minute Manchester United news, transfer news and update roundup. We're going to round up all the latest news in 10 minutes for you guys. Let's dive into it. So, Openda is a target for Aston Villa. Aston Villa must sell Ollie Watkins before making a move for attacking player. Now, Aston Villa have had this stance that they're not selling Watkins. Watkins is basically untouchable, which, to be honest, fair enough in a weird sense, because they've sold John Duran, Rashford and Asensio have gone. They don't have great depth in attack. Leon Bailey wasn't great last season, and the striker market's very overpriced. I get why they won't want to sell Watkins, but they're in a financial position where it's not the best. Watkins is aging. They weren't the happiest with Watkins last season. Rashford actually took his place at striker for a little bit. And a guy that's nearly 30, if you're getting £45 million for him in this market, and that'll be pure profit by now, it will tempt Villa. And I think Villa are willing to sell Watkins for the right price. But I think they tried to act like they weren't willing to sell him because it would help get a bigger price out of United if they almost act like he's untouchable. A bit like Anthony. Ajax were like, Anthony's untouchable. So Anthony, who would have been 40 million, ended up costing us 85 million. And Villa are playing that game of we don't want to sell him at all, blah, blah, blah. I think to try and make sure they get the best price they can. I think the fact that Villa are looking reportedly at alternatives means there could be some developments there. But we haven't decided between Watkins and Cesco. Now, I still think Newcastle are ahead of us in the race for Cesco because Newcastle were really pushing for it, and we haven't even told Cesco if we want him yet. But Cesco prefers United, but Newcastle are more keen. We might go for Watkins. I think he could open up the door for Watkins. But we've got to talk about Cesco and give a little bit of a roundup of what the current situation is right now. So Romano has said that Newcastle are fully prepared to sign Cesco. They know all the terms. They're ready to pay Leipzig, the player and the camp. Newcastle are there. They've presented their project to Cesco. They're just waiting on a decision, and they're pushing Cesco, and they want him a lot more than we do as of now. That's what they want. They're kind of pushing for Cesco. Now, United remain in contact with Cesco's camp. We're working on a deal, but we've not made the same kind of leap. You know, we like Cesco. We're talking to his camp. We're trying to understand conditions, but we've not made the same kind of leap in regards to Cesco. Now, the decision rests with Cesco, because he may pick Man United over Newcastle, but if we go for Watkins, it's irrelevant to him. I think maybe he's waiting for United to see if we want him or Watkins before making the decision. Now, a lot of sources say he prefers Manchester United, but he hasn't officially picked us, but we've also not officially picked him. I think Newcastle are more keen. I think Newcastle are pushing it more. And I think ultimately, with us seeming to be leaning towards Watkins, I think that might force Cesco into pushing Newcastle, which will be a good move for him. At the end of the day, if we sign Cesco, I'm happy. If we sign Watkins, I'm happy. It massively depends on the fee. I do think Cesco has the better potential, is the better athlete, and could be unbelievable for us. But I think Cesco is more of a risk. I'm not saying that Watkins isn't a risk, but I think Watkins is more ready-made now. But I think Cesco in 2 years' time will be a lot better player than Watkins. So I think if you look at the price, how many years we can pay this in installments, the wages, if we look at all those factors, what is the best deal financially to make? That's the question. Cesco could be great. There's definitely an element of a risk. But he's a good player, and I think he would suit the system well. But he's not complete yet. Watkins is a risk, but it's less of a risk, and you sort of know what you're getting. That's the question. What will United decide? Let me know who you decide. We got to talk about this. What a bargain this is. United must hijack this, honestly. Ipswich have just accepted a 15 million bid for Hayden Hackney. Now, of course, if Man United went in, the price tag would probably be 30 million because it's Man United tax. But Kieran McKenna is trying to convince Hackney to sign. Hackney hasn't agreed to join Ipswich yet, but because I think he would like a Premier League move, I think Ipswich will go straight back up. But I think he probably would like his Premier League move. But Hayden Hackney is a good player. And I tweeted, 15 million, might as well take a punt. Look, 25, 30 million, you don't really look at it. 15 million, though? I'm just going to say Dan James was 15 million. Dan James wasn't good enough, but we sold him for 25, 30 million. Right now, we need a striker, a midfielder, or a goalkeeper. Right now, we're not doing well with sales. We can't afford Baleba, Cesco, and Lmens. Let's be honest. We'd like that. We can't afford it. We can't afford Baleba, Watkins, Lmens. Realistically, we're in a position where we're going to be looking at the Ndidis and the players under 20 million. Javi Guerrera at 25 million, I would love us to do that. I don't know if we will. Now, Hayden Hackney, everyone's saying, oh, Alice is rubbish. Oh, he's not good enough. Stop begging every player to join United. I'm not begging him to join United. If he was 30 million, I'd say, guys, there's better options in the market because we don't know if he can step up to the Premier League. There's about 10 names that I think are better players than Hayden Hackney that United could go for in midfield. Because with Hayden Hackney, we don't know if he'll step up to the Premier League. I think he's capable of it, but we don't know if he'll step up to the Premier League level. But if Hayden Hackney is £15 million, if he's a progressive centre mid, and the profile we need is a progressive centre mid, someone that is good on the ball, someone that takes care of the ball, when he's proven in games against Chelsea for Middlesbrough, in games against Sunderland, who are now going to be in the Premier League, he put in man of the match level performances. For £15 million, you buy him, he flops. We'll look at Chelsea. Now, Chelsea might make profit on Dewsbury Hall. You could potentially make profit on him. Probably not because we're Man United, but if it's Chelsea, they'd make profit on him if they brought him and he flopped. You made profit on Dan James, who wasn't good enough. It's another body in midfield because Eriksen's gone. We've not brought a replacement in. He's progressive. He's £15 million. It's homegrown quota, which is something we need to get some more English players in. I just think it's risk three. And I saw someone comment as well, you could give them Collier on loan. You could give them Toby Collier on loan. You buy Hayden Hackney for £15 million. For me, look, would I rather, if someone said Hackney, Baleba, Guerrera, obviously Baleba's first choice, Guerrera's second choice, Hackney's third choice. But I just think for £15 million, when we're talking we could be getting a Ndidi for £10 million, that's nearly 30. I just think maybe United have got to act on that. Maybe you take a risk. He might flop. He might be like Amrabat, where we were thinking he was going to be all this and he wasn't. But Amrabat towards the end actually showed quite a good thing. But I just think we lack in build-up in the middle, and he could be that guy. Now, obviously, I think Maino, I want to see him in the midfield too. I think if we can get Maino physically ready, he'll be good. He's really good at build-up. But Hayden Hackney's one of those where he comes to United, he's Dan James, and we make a bit of profit on him, you know. Or he becomes an Adam Wharton type player after a few games, all of a sudden he's worth 70 million. And if you don't have money to invest in midfield, Hackney and Lmens could be smart options. Like, because we got to look at, like, we look at other Premier League clubs like Newcastle and Villa and how they'll bring in these players for 15, 20 million and sell them for 70 million and they're really good. Well, we're not in the financial position to do loads of 100 million signings. So do we consider going down that route? Now, talking of Lmens, despite things being quiet the last few days, Ben Jacobs has very much confirmed United is still in talks for Lmens. And it also has been said that Manchester United have growing interest in Lmens, with Emi Martinez's deal now considered complicated. I believe this was reported by the same guy that reported this, Sacha Tavarelli. I think he also is the one that said Man United have a growing interest in Lmens, with the Emi Martinez deal considered complicated. To do the Lmens deal, I think Bayindir would need to be sold. If Anthony goes to Al Nassr, it could free up some funds. If Garnacho goes to Chelsea, it frees up some funds. But I think he's a Bayindir replacement, and Bayindir, there's no movement yet. So we have to wait and see with goalkeeper. But last but not least, let's talk about strikers, because I think Xerxes is our best striker going into next season until we sign someone, but he is injured. So what is the latest on his injury? He said, it's not a serious problem. I just want to be ready for the start of the season. Someone who has been someone who's really motivated me is Leacher. Seeing how he prepares mentally and the way he works to get back is something I'm grateful for. And Stokes is on the way back. Nothing serious. Fingers crossed he's back soon, because he ended last season quite well. Thank you for watching. Bye.